Holy shit. We did it. I did it. I did it, fam. Okay. Hello to my amazing internet friends and the 5 of us who remembered the Gone series by Michael Grant. We have a lot to talk about. Because Chelsea and I have made it to the final chapters in Gone by Michael Grant. We have done what teenage Chelsea would not do. She has finished Gone by Michael Grant. I have no words. Except I do, because I don't know how long this video is going to end up being, but I'm assuming it's going to be one of the longest in the series so far. So in the last video, we set up a lot of things that were happening, a lot of juicy bits. Basically, all of that setup is going to come to a head in the final battle right here, right now, in this video. We're also going to get some payoffs and reveals on some other things, but I will explain that when we get there. Don't worry. With that in mind, I think it's time that we just cut right to past Jay and past Chelsea for their final thoughts.
Oh my god! I guess a good question to start is just like, how do you feel? You have finished the book.
So, okay. Well, I feel like, again, I have to answer it in 2 parts, because it's like, if I had finished the book the first time I read it, which I think was like 14, 15 when I read it. Let me put myself in that mindset. I think that there would probably have been anywhere from a 40 to a 60% chance that I would have read the other book.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think I would have finished the series.
Okay.
I would have been motivated to at least start the second book.
Okay.
With the conclusion of this book.
Okay.
Me now, I'm happy to part. I'm happy to say,
yeah,
this is where we part and I say my goodbye. I still feel that it took him too long to get, and I'm going to call it not the tone, but I guess, like, I didn't understand what kind of book this was. And I mentioned that before, because I got into it thinking, like, this is going to be, like, one of those, like, Lord of the Flies dystopian societies, but is, like, still pretty grounded in realism. And then it just wasn't. And it sounds like this is a compliment, but it's not. This book didn't fit into a category that I could, like, understand it.
Yeah.
I think that's what threw me off when I was a kid. I just said, like, maybe I just didn't like it when I was a kid, and now I'm like, no, I don't think Michael Grant knew what he was writing. And I think that's why it took so long to kind of get a footing.
And it's like, it doesn't fit into a category because it doesn't feel like Michael Grant knew what category it was going to be. It was like, he did not, like, make us feel confident that he knew what the world building was. We felt that the world was just this big question mark, and I felt like the God who created it was a big question mark.
Mm-hmm.
He's kind of like Little Pete in that way. He's kind
of that's a very astute assessment, Shay.
Okay, to talk about particulars of the book, so I outlined a couple, like, events that I wanted to touch on, and you can jump in at any time to, like, say, hey, you're forgetting this important thing that bothers me and I want to discuss it. This is a vague outline. This is just the things that I felt were relevant to our discussion. We confirmed, one, that Little Pete was the one who disappeared all the adults. We knew that the second we saw him in the power plant, but it's nice to have the confirmation.
Okay, so yes, so this is what I mean by one of the things I will explain as we go along. For my internet friends, this is kind of a failure in editing. Okay, so, like, let me explain really quick. In previous videos, Chelsea and I discussed one of the characters, Little Pete. Hold on. Okay. If we can zoom in real close here, like this little guy in the end here, that's Little Pete. In previous videos, Chelsea and I touched on this. One of the characters, Little Pete, who's a 4-year-old autistic boy, is actually one of the most powerful people in this world. So we established that he's one of the most powerful people in this world, but I don't think that I established that we also knew that he was the reason why all of this is happening. He is the reason why there's this bubble around this town. He's the reason why all the adults are gone. He is the catalyst for all of this. This is something that is foreshadowed in the book, and it's so obvious in the book that it almost doesn't feel like a reveal. It doesn't feel like a twist. There's a lot of things that made this reveal not surprising, but this is the moment that the characters are learning that this is what happened. So I apologize for the lack of clarity as the editor of these videos.
I was confused.
You were.
Not about little Pete disappearing people, but like immediately after that, Sam is just like, he saved everyone. And I was like, what? Because they were like, oh, like there was something that was about to happen that could have like destroyed all of Perdido Beach. And all the people were panicking. That's where the alarm was going off, and that's what triggered Petey. And then he disappeared all the adults. And then Sam's just like, but he saved all of us. I was like, I don't understand how those two things connect. If anything, my concern would be like the people who were trying to fix it and knew what was going on disappeared, and this is still an issue. That was my initial concern. And then it's like, we still don't know, are they on Earth? Like, did we just get rid of all of these people just within Perdido Beach? And so now the kids are still on planet Earth, and there's still adults outside of the bubble, outside of the FAYZ, and it's just within their town. And then that would explain, that would be like that physical issue that was going on is still a problem, and nobody is talking about, no one's concerned about it. Or he like just took all the kids and plopped them in like a completely other reality, universe, whatever, in which case the kids may be fine, but if their parents are still back on the original Earth, then did they solve the problem? Did they die because of whatever this physical, like, I don't know. I don't even know what happened. Like, what was the alarm? Was it a nuclear leak or something like that? I don't know. Something was going on. And according to Michael Grant, Petey fixed it by just making the adults disappear, which doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah, I think the way I interpreted it was that Petey both fixed whatever the problem was. He, however his magic works, magically fixed this problem, but he also, for whatever reason, made the adults disappear as like an unintended byproduct of his fixing of the thing. That was how I interpreted it. I can see that you are not satisfied with that.
Okay. Do you remember what the problem was? Like, I feel like it wasn't clear.
Yeah, you know what? It wasn't clear.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, that would have been a perfect like thing to keep bringing back. Like, what was the thing that little Pete was protecting the kids from? Like, what if there was something that was happening outside of the FAYZ and he created the bubble in order to protect everyone inside it? Like, that could have been a really interesting idea. I mean, that would have changed the direction of the story even more. But you could have had like this idea of what if the world outside of the FAYZ, if they are even still in the same world, what if the world outside of the FAYZ is more dangerous than the bubble that they created?
There you go. That would make me read the series if that's how it ended. Forget about talking animals and that whole mess. Like, if you focused on that, or like, yeah, that could have been like, the first book is just everything within Perdido Beach. The second book is, yeah, maybe they get the FAYZ down or someone gets out and they realize like, oh, like the adults that we were waiting on to come save us are actually gone, and it literally is just us. Boom, yeah. Book 2. And you would have had me reading it. Yeah. That was the big thing of the chapters we were supposed to read last week. That I was like, it does make sense.
But how do you feel about Drake's arm?
Wipe that smile off your face, Pash J. Wipe that Dan smile off your face. But the reason why Pash J has a mischievous glint in her eye is because Michael Grant made a choice with Drake, and she was very sure that Chelsea wouldn't like it. And that is a perfect segue to our character reveal for Drake. Okay, so this is Drake. Oh, this is a nice shot. Now, Jay, you must be wondering, what is that red stringy thing wrapping around Drake there? What's that? That is Drake's arm. That's Drake's arm. Because If you remember in the last video, one of the things that happened was that Drake got his arm burned off. Well, as you can see, he got a new one. The darkness, which was also introduced in the last video, gave Drake a new arm. That's Michael. He keeps testing Chelsea. At every turn, he just tests her.
In theory, I think it works. I mean, I'm someone who likes mythology stories and stuff like that. So I think the idea of the bad guy like losing the one thing that gives him power / control over other people, so his brute force and his strength, that being taken away from him, I do like that it kind of humbles him for like 2 seconds. But then every time they talked about him uncoiling his whip arm, and I'm like, no. Also, I think maybe because I'm in TV, when I was reading that part, I was just like, now, Michael Grant, you know you can't do a film adaptation with that kind of messed up arm. First of all, you're not explaining it correctly or well for me to be able to picture what you're talking about. I mean, right now I'm picturing like almost like a fruit roll-up roll where it's just like a whole bunch of coils and then it comes out like tentacles maybe. I don't know, but it's not appealing. And I'm like, if you do a film adaptation, you're not going to be able, it's going to look ridiculous. That's just another fail on your part. But I don't think anyone's adapting. No, someone will adapt these books at some point, I'm sure.
They're gonna fight very hard about the tentacle arm. They're gonna be, Michael, do we have to keep it? Is there a way that Drake just gets a regular whip that he just uses instead?
Like just get like a metal arm or something like that, or like make it like it looks like his arm, but when he's ready to use it, it morphs into something else.
Ooh.
Like and then he can use it like a tentacle arm or something like that. But yeah, I was reading that part and I was like, I don't know, Michael, you've made a mistake.
You know, another thing, I almost forgot that it happens in the same book that he gets the whip hand. I thought that it happened in book 2. And then I didn't realize that it happened in book 1. And then I didn't even realize that it happened like within like 30 pages apart. It's so quick. Like he barely has to adjust to losing his original arm and then he gets this new monster. And I was like, God, you know, you didn't even give us a chance to like settle into this first thing that happened where his arm got burned off, and now you're giving us a new one.
You know what they needed too is like, and I mean, I said like he was humbled for 2 seconds. He wasn't really humbled. He just like was like, I'm like disfigured for like 2 seconds. But what would have been great, especially with, it's so hard to even talk about like character arcs and stuff like that because I just don't feel like there was any. But there would have been there should have been a great moment where, and I kind of guess it happened, but it happened separately, where Caine was just like, you're useless to me. Like, I didn't like you before, but I had a use for you. And now you're fucking worthless to me, and I don't like you as a human being. So, and then because Drake already has his issues with Caine, that's been building, which is I thought was a really good thing for them to do. And then I think it would have been great for, Drake to kind of have that like Night of the Dark Soul kind of thing, and then be gifted the arm after a while, and then he uses that arm because he hates everybody, but also now we don't quite see the allegiance, which was already wavering, but the allegiance between Caine and Drake. So they also fell into and I don't think it's a trap, I think it's just a fault that I see in a lot of, honestly, it's not restricted to genre. I just think anytime there's like a power struggle where there's actual like death and war involved, they always have the psycho bad guy who's power hungry. It's always just like kill everyone. And then that's the point where even like its little minions are like, is that a good idea? Like, you've gone too far. And that was that moment with Caine where Diana comes up and she's like, tell the coyotes to stop killing the kids. And he's like, no. Like, you're crazy and evil. And I'm like, yeah, she knows that. Like, why is that her argument? The argument should be, if you kill everyone, you have nothing to rule over. And I always hit that point with so many different stories where I'm just like, it doesn't make, your dream doesn't make sense. Or like the classic like kid movie one where it's like, my dream is to take over the world. And I just rewatched all of Sailor Moon, and every single villain is just like, I want to shove the world into darkness and I'll rule over that. I'm like, do you actually want that though? Because if there is nothing but darkness and you kill all of humanity, then you're not ruling over anything.
Yeah.
It's not fun to be king of the ashes. So I don't understand your plan. I get that you have to kill some people, especially all your adversaries, so you can rule, but you need something to rule over. Otherwise, your power is pointless.
It's almost like society told him that this is what he's supposed to want in a Lord of the Flies retelling. And so he's like, yes, I will grab power because that is what society told me will make me happy.
And you know what? That is valid if that was what Michael Grant wanted us to think.
Yes,
because that would have been very easy to write into the story.
Yeah.
But alas.
How did you feel about the battle in general? It was okay.
I just feel like I was expecting like, I don't know, I guess this is probably wrong, but kind of like an X-Men kind of thing where it's just like, or even Avengers, even though I haven't really watched those films, where it's just like everybody, especially all the people that Caine like put in the cement blocks at Coates, where they're all just like, boom, boom, trying to hit him when he can, and Caine's super powerful, so he can like push them away, and like is still trying to go after Sam, and Sam's trying to help, like especially because I feel like they set it up so it was really good. Like honestly, like they had the coyotes rushing the kids, then they had the church, and then there's Caine. So Sam had to defend 3 different sides. And like, yeah, you had a dealio like with the guns and stuff like that, but it just seemed like unrealistic. Like at the end, I think they said only like 19 people died. It seemed like there was a lot of coyotes. Sam wasn't protecting them, and like the guns only killed a few of them. Anyways, the whole point was that I feel like they set it up really well, but then all of these, like the church crashed, but everyone pretty much survived. The coyotes attacked, but only 19 people died. And then Sam fell into the house, but he somehow lived. And like all of that. And then at the end, like the only person who was fighting Caine was Sam, which makes sense because those are the 2 that have to go head to head. But it didn't really seem like anybody else was like around or helping. Yeah, it just kind of at the end just kind of seemed a little lackluster.
This could have been a really great moment to cut between different perspectives, like see what Deck is doing, what Brianna's doing, and he does that better, I think, in later books. But yeah, this battle was very Sam centric when there were a lot of things happening outside of Sam, and I definitely agree. Like the death toll should have been a lot higher.
And I feel like he could have done both, because I do realize at the end of the day, it does have to be Sam. Oh, my voice just cracked. It does have to be Sam and Caine. It could have been a really great moment. And I'm sure this will probably happen later because Caine isn't dead. Where it's literally like Sam, Caine, and then all the Coates kids that have like this vendetta against Caine. Like I feel like they could have had that moment where Caine is literally faced with everyone that he's hurt. And then then you see the coyotes and everything else come out, and then everyone else kind of has to disperse to kind of survive, and it ends up just being Caine and Sam. Like I would have been fine with that too. I just feel like it was a missed opportunity.
Yeah. Any thoughts on the Poof scene?
That was interesting. I did like that, especially because I was a little upset, not upset at the writer. I think it was actually a really good point for him where Diana switches and she's like, Sam to beat the Poof, and then Caine, throws her to the ground. And I was just like, oh no. And Jack mentioned it earlier where he was like wrapping his hand around Sam's ankles and being like, I can save you from the poof, I can help you. I do like that there was 2 moments where he almost learned about it, but that he didn't in the end and beat it out of sheer will. I think that was really strong. And I also thought it was kind of interesting that Sam and Caine both saw the same thing at the same time, that it wasn't separate, that they like joined in together. Yeah, but I did like that scene where Caine shows up and the mom's just like, my boys, my babies. And also I do like the moment that Mike Grant says that Caine is kind of like enamored with the mother, because it's like he knows it's fake, but he still kind of wants it. And I thought that was really strong development for Caine. Yeah, and I like that the mother like is just like that you can tell like she knows enough about Sam and Caine to be able to like do certain things like the hand motion and to say certain words. But when they start asking her questions, she doesn't know the answer because it's not really the mother. He did really nail it where it's like when they use the mother voice. And it's like, even though you're saying no, when your mom does that thing where like she gives you that look and she does the motion and she does the voice, like, oh shit, yes, what? Like every kid just kind of knows that. And then I do like that she gets angry and turns into this thing. I like that the darkness is just like laughing at Caine and being like, you're gonna come to me anyways. And Caine's like, no, I'm not. Which I'm like, oh, this is really interesting. But then literally the next chapter, he goes to the darkness. And I'm like, that should have been something that like maybe happens in book 2, where there's got to be something in between Caine losing and like Caine at the bottom where he feels like he has nothing, nowhere else to turn but the darkness, and not the next chapter where Caine's just like, okay, how far till he get to the darkness? I'm like, what the no, what? You still needed a build up to it. You can't just make it the next chapter. Like, yeah, that was frustrating. But anyways, the isolated incident of the poof I thought was good. And I still stand by my original guess. I think I was right. I don't know if it's ever clear, but I do think Diana had feelings for Sam.
Ooh.
Because at the end, like I know you shut that down as soon as I said it, but at the end, she she does try to help him. Yeah. And then she does choose Caine, but she like kisses Sam and she chooses Caine the same way that I feel like Orc chose Caine, where it's just like, I don't really have an option. Like I've gone too far with being a bad person that like I won't be forgiven if I try to switch sides now.
Like as I was reading these last few pages, I was like, I am really feeling this like Sam and Diana energy right now.
I think it's there.
Yeah.
I think it is there.
And then they ended it with a nice Thanksgiving feast, which was so cute.
Very society. Yes.
Yes, they had the Thanksgiving episode in Society.
I'm just apprehensive because you told me they're gonna run out of food. And so I'm like, what are y'all doing? You don't have a massive Thanksgiving like that. You're all gonna run out of food in like 2 days.
Yeah, this is the last very nice meal that they have for a while. Yeah, but that's it. We did it.
That's all, yeah. I'm happy I finished it. Mm-hmm. All those years, I think I was like 14, 15. So yeah, 10 plus years of wondering and being annoyed. I wonder if I'll be able to live the next year in peace. No, I'm not, because I still am curious how the whole series ends.
I will keep you updated. It's gonna be great.
It's gonna be very fun because it's gonna be fun to have you give me the summary and I'm just like, that doesn't make sense. Because that's what I'm expecting all the books to be. It's just nonsense. But that's fine.
Yeah, but thank you for doing this with me. This has been great. I'm so excited to keep going. Any final words?
Okay, well, just because I'm a nostalgic person and a sentimentalist, can you hold up the cover?
Yes.
Because that was, I just remember seeing it when I'd walk into my high school library It was like just like on display in the front, and I was just like, that cover screams me. That's exactly the kind of stuff that I'm reading right now. I read the back. Wait, read the back summary.
God bless whoever managed to summarize this book. So this is what it looks like. Look at how like beaten up this cover is. Aww.
I love it though. And I was just like, look at these like 22-year-olds pretending to be 14, and they're so like Gossip Girl, but with like superpowers. And I was at the point I wasn't into the superpowers, but I'm like Gossip Girl like minus parents, which is pretty much Gossip Girl, but like I was like super into this. And then read the cover so I can relive my initial thoughts.
Okay. In the blink of an eye, everyone disappears. Gone, all caps. Everyone except for the young, teens, middle schoolers, toddlers, but not a single adult. No teachers, no cops, no doctors, no parents. Gone too are the phones, internet, and television. There is no way to get help. Hunger threatens, bullies rule, a sinister creature lurks, animals are mutating, and the teens themselves are changing, developing new talents, unimaginable, dangerous, deadly powers that grow stronger by the day. It's a terrifying new world. Sides are being chosen and war is imminent. The first in a breathtaking saga about teens battling each other and their darkest selves. Gone is a page-turning thriller that will make you look at the world in a whole new way.
It got me. I think I definitely glazed over the mutated animals and new talents, but the teens at war with each other, I'm like, I'm a teen. I constantly feel like I'm at war. I would love for the adults to disappear. This is great. Now we have to choose sides. I like history. I like politics. This is like, I was just so into it. And no.
You made it up to a sinister creature lurks, and then you stopped right before animals are mutating, because then you would have been like, what?
Yeah, I don't even think I got to the sinister creature. I think I stopped right before that sentence and then came in when they started saying like teens are at war with each other. I came back in. I think I just have a selective memory, and I just like immediately deleted it and went down and continued reading.
Yeah, love that. But like I was reading all of this and I went, this is a little exhausting. Like poor whoever wrote the summary having to be like, shit, and the coyotes talk and
Can you imagine having to read this book, all of the books, just to write the summary?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Pretty cool.
But I have fond memories, and I do kind of wish I would have finished reading it at that age. I think if I had managed to get past, like I liked the first like 100 pages, and then anywhere from the point where they just kept introducing characters and just going further down the rabbit hole. I didn't like that, but I did like once we kind of established most of the characters and what's happening. Once you kind of got into the action of Caine and Sam, and Sam and Astrid and Adelio, and them kind of like walking around the FAYZ and kind of establishing what's happening, then I would have got back into it. And I think I would have appreciated it a little bit more when I was a kid. And maybe would have read the second book. I think I definitely would have tapped out though eventually. I'm happy that I finished it, and thank you for even knowing about this book.
I had to bring you in for solidarity reasons, so I could finally have someone to talk about this with. So yeah. Okay, this has been great.
Wow. What a journey. What a journey for me and Chelsea. Please allow me to be a little sentimental for a minute. I don't know, I'm feeling a little bit more emotional than I thought I would. These videos took a long time for me. Like, Chelsea and I started recording this in January 2021, and we are publishing this last bit in October. So it has been quite a journey. It's been hours of footage, hours of me editing footage, hours of me recording narration in between footage to explain all of the things that Michael Grant has going on. Just like final thoughts. I am kind of bummed that Chelsea didn't like the final battle. Personally, I liked it. Although I do kind of like see her point about like how cool it would have been to have like that X-Men sort of all of these superpowered kids fighting against Caine. Because like the superpowered kids from Code, there are some that become major players in Sam's like army, and this battle would have been a really fun moment to debut all of those characters at once. It would have been really cool, like Chelsea said, to like have like almost like a showdown, Caine on one side, Sam, and then behind him all of the people that Caine has wronged. That would have been a really cool visual. I see how it could have been better, but personally, I still enjoyed that scene. Another thing is that like, this is another reflection. Once I accepted that this was just the reality of the situation, I think it like made the book series a lot more fun. Like when you accept that the laws of physics don't apply, it just opens up a world of possibilities, and literally anything can happen. And I think I enjoy it the way I enjoy a movie like Sharknado, where you understand going into it that there's no science here. Similarly, this sort of like anything can happen sort of like a vibe reminds me of a Netflix show called Brand New Cherry Flavor. And it's spooky season, so if you're looking for a spooky, like witchcrafty type watch, I would highly recommend. I almost said highly recommend it. I would tentatively recommend it because it does get a little body horror-ish. I don't think I'm a above average squeamish person, but this will test you. You say you're not squeamish, but you haven't watched Brand New Cherry Flavor yet, so that's all I'm gonna say. 18 and older also. Let's just also say that. But yeah, just like this idea that like opening up the possibilities, like deciding that like the laws of physics don't apply, the unpredictable nature of it. That was something that was really fun for me back then and is now. And I also think that it makes very fertile ground for like a buddy like read series like this. Chelsea is not going to be continuing reading the books with me, but what's going to happen is that basically I'm going to read it and I'm going to recount the events to her chapter by chapter, and that setup is a lot of fun. Like Chelsea having to absorb and accept just some of the ludicrous things that are happening just brings me such joy, and I think you're gonna enjoy them too. And also, like, before we go, like, I was talking about how difficult it was to edit this and how like what a feat it was that I actually finished it. There's so many things I had to cut for time. There are characters that you're missing, there are weird ludicrous moments that you'll never get to see. Some of these will come back in the later rereads, but yeah, like there was just a lot happening, and like these were the most difficult videos I've ever had to make. But yeah, like I don't know, like I'm just so happy that I finished. I'm so happy that people within the Gone fandom have been receptive to them. Thank you to my internet friends. Thank you to you who wondered if anyone remembered the Gone series by Michael Grant, because I did. And I'm so glad you're here. I've been talking for a while and I can feel the sleepies hitting, so I think that it is time to call it. Thank you again so much for watching. I really appreciate it, and thank you to the amazing artists who allowed me to feature their beautiful work throughout this series. Yeah, that's it. Roll artist credits. Hello, it is VoiceOver J with those artist credits. So from the bottom of my heart, shout out to the following artists: Charlie over at ABJLK, Eve at Evilme, Stella at XEFAYZ, FAYZ Art 136, and Gone Series Orchid. And since it's Inktober, I thought it would be fitting to shout out more artwork that I received, but wasn't necessarily able to include in the character board. So special thank you to Soleil Stars PNG, also known as J. Another special thanks to Charlie at ABJLK and Lauren Murphy Art. Please show these artists some love, follow them on social media, consider supporting them on Ko-fi, Venmo. If they do commissions, consider purchasing one. All of these artists have been a joy to talk with and work with, so, you know, please show them love if you can in the form of money. That's all I have for you right now. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it, and I will see you in the next video. Okay.